Louise Harris, last research and editing and Christian marketing experts. And this week on The Last Word, we're going to be talking about problem solving. And so let's get started. I have been asked recently a couple questions. One is, how do I define quality when I say, do you want the material with quality or do you want cheap? I've also been asked, well, what problem do you solve in your business? And finally, I've been asked, I'm not sure, well, not really asked, told, I'm not really sure your company name tells people what you do. Last research and editing, that might be misleading. All right, so we're going to discuss each one from a perspective of business, and then I'll talk about myself, which is something I don't normally do in these videos, but I mean, I talk about myself, but anyway, let's get started. So question number one, my company name does not tell people what I do. Well, I disagree with that 100% because most people know what research means and most people know what editing means. Now, what kind of research I do, that might be a little misleading, but when they ask me that question, I answer, I do journalism research. So if a client wants me to contact PR departments in companies or PR departments in state or federal agencies, or they want me to gather lists, that's all the kind of research that I can do. I can interview people and I can write reports. The other kind of research I don't do. I do not do scientific studies. I do not do comparisons that are peer reviewed, and I do basic comparisons, this chart versus that chart, and write a small report, but I don't do the real dig deep type of research. Editing, that's self-explanatory. However, if you want to know what kind of editing I do, the answer is I can edit whatever the client is asking. Now, if a client needs their press releases edited, they wrote it with AI, but they want to make sure a human reads it, I can do that. If they had somebody in India write a blog post and they want to make sure it's grammatically correct, I can do that too. I can also write it for them. If they don't want to spend the time learning AI, or they don't have the budget to use AI efficiently, they can hire me and I can write it for them as well. I can also edit manuscripts. I can edit web content for email marketing. I can edit articles. I can edit messages that they want to send out to their constituents. I can edit newsletters. If the client needs something polished to make it sound great, that's something I can do. And I can take out the computer sounding words from AI and put it into human sounding AI. And I can also proofread all of those things as well. So that is last research and editing. Now, how can I apply this to other businesses? Because that's usually what this video is about. It's about you as the small business owner and you as the writer. So what you have to do is ask yourself as a small business owner, does my company name tell people what I do? If the answer is no, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But then you have to be able to follow that up with ways of letting people know exactly what you do. If your company name is vague on purpose, which some companies do that, then when you're sending out a message, you want to be as clear and concise as possible. So the second question was, what problem do I solve? And often this is not something I think of regularly. However, if I were to boil it down to what a business owner needs from me and I solve that problem, the answer would be this: time. Business owners, especially entrepreneurs, they are wearing 100 different hats. They don't have time to write all the content that is required of them. Now, I will admit that artificial intelligence is helping entrepreneurs write their content. But again, it doesn't have that human element, and they are going to have to spend time going over it to make sure it's right. So this is the problem that I solve. I give those entrepreneurs time for them to do something else in their business, and they don't have to worry about the content generation. So for you as a small business owner and you as a writer, writers, you need to figure out what you're solving that might be different from what I'm solving. But as small business owners, you have a product or service that you are offering for sale. But unless you know what problem that other person is dealing with, you're not going to be sending the right message to get that other person as a client. So make sure you figure out exactly what problem you are solving, that other person can say, hey, I want to buy from that I want to buy from that small business owner because that gets me, that small business owner gets me and knows what I'm struggling to do and why I need their service or product. It's usually easier to figure out what problem you are solving when you offer a product than if you're offering a service. And now, question number 3. Quality versus cheap. So what do I mean by quality? Well, there are many ways of getting your content written or edited, but not all of those ways involve a human or a person who was born and raised in America and understands American culture more than anyone else. But also, often those AI or foreign countries or Fiverr, they're churning out things quickly, and they're not really reading through and getting all the typos out and all of the awkward sentences. My editing style ensures that you as the small business owner will get materials that are free of mistakes, that keep your voice and put that emotion that is so important back into your messaging and your content. And that's what I mean by quality. I provide value because I understand the things that when you hire someone just because of the price, you don't get. You don't get someone who understands the marketplace in the United States. You don't get someone who is methodical when it comes to mistakes. You don't get someone who treats every client with the respect that they deserve, whether they're a trade client or they're a full paying client or there's somebody that I discounted, they get all the same kind of relationship with me and my ability to offer the best that I can offer them. And you, as a small business owner, and you, as a writer, also have to figure out how you're different from those places that they can just type a few words and they get an article. You need to be able to come up with what makes you different, and you need to stick to that. And you should provide your style in your own way. I appreciate you watching. As I said, this was a little different because I wanted to answer some of those questions. If you are subscribed, I appreciate you. That does help with the YouTube algorithm and my ranking. If you have not subscribed, I ask you to say, well, why haven't you? I am providing good tips for small business owners and writers. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. If you would like to visit my websites, that would be great. lastresearchandediting.com, christianmarketingexperts.com, amazon.com/author/Louise Harris, and buy some books. And don't worry, be happy.